A very good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on wherever you're joining us from. I welcome you all back to session 9 of day 5 on approaches and methods to engage 21st century learners on the 7-day online international faculty development program on language and literature, a pragmatic approach. I welcome our principal, Dr. R. Saravanan, patron of the program, Dr. Shakila Matthew, Dean Academics, Head Department of English and convener of the program, Mr. Logesh Kumar S., Administrative Officer, members of Faculty of English of VET Institute of Arts and Science, and the teaching fraternity of English language and literature from around the world to the session. A true teacher is the one who awakens the natural curiosity of young minds. Joining us today is one such persona who not only awakens the natural curiosity in her students, but also widens their horizons and inflames their intellects. I am elated to welcome Professor Lalitha James, English language trainer, English Language Center of Nizwa College of Technology, Sultanate of Oman. She is a proud alumna of Velala College for Women, Erode, where she did her undergraduation and post-graduation in English literature between the years 1986 and 1991. She secured University Gold Medal for her undergraduation course in 1989. She also served as an assistant professor in her alma mater for a short stint of 4 years from 1993 to 1997. With over 2 decades of experience in academia, this veteran educationist has taught English courses offered by English Language Center at the foundation and post-foundation levels, and has also served as Level 2, Level 4, and Technical Writing Level 1 coordinator. As a teacher, she looks for opportunities to help her students avoid mannered or self-conscious writing and gain confidence in their own voices. Her experience of teaching English with her colleagues from around the globe to a large diversity of students has enriched her ways in English language pedagogy and also has enabled her to engage in doctoral research on the impact of foreign language anxiety on rural Indian students in learning English as a second language. An adroit researcher and an ingenious writer, Professor Lalitha James has presented and published multiple research papers in national and international journals and conferences. She has been taking hands, opening minds, and touching hearts by organizing various events and serving as a resource person at multiple prestigious institutions. Today, she will acquaint us in her area of expertise, approaches and methods to engage 21st century learners. Ma'am, over to you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Sarika. That was a generous introduction about me. And what makes me above all is introducing me as the alumna of Velala College for Women. I'm proud of it. And at this juncture, I remember the founders of the college with a lot of gratitude. Without the path-breaking venture by the founders of this college, the women of 60s and 70s would not have had higher education and reached the position that we have reached now without those great people. I remember them all with gratitude at this moment. And now let me go into my presentation. And at the very outset, I would like to thank, just a minute, the slide isn't moving. I'll stop share and start sharing once more. Yes, it is okay now. I'm starting my presentation. At the very outset, I would like to thank the Management Committee of Vellalar Educational Trust, Dr. R. Saravanan, Principal, and Dr. Shakila Matthew, Dean Academics of Vellalar Educational Trust Institute of Arts and Science, for hosting this program and having given me this opportunity to come back to my alma mater and meet all my friends, colleagues, seniors and juniors, and also participants from all over the world, and share my knowledge and experience which I have gained in all these years of teaching. I welcome you all to this presentation. And next, I extend a warm welcome to all the learned professors who have joined this FDP, and my special warm welcome to the HOD of the English Department of Vellalar College for Women, Dr. L.M. Swarnalatha, and all my colleagues from Oman who have joined. And I hope I will be able to give you some good takeaways in this presentation. I extend a warm welcome to you all once more, and let us move on to take a look at the overview of my presentation. In this presentation, first of all, we'll be looking at the definitions of approaches and methods. And then we will watch a video presentation by some students about 21st century education. And I think it is important to listen to our students. What are their goals? What are their expectations of us? So I have selected this video for us to watch together. And that becomes an abstract for my presentation. And next, we'll be looking at what are the empowering graduate attributes of the 21st century. What are the attributes that we expect in our young people when they graduate from the university? And that is the goal of their education. We'll take a look at the set of skills and the knowledge domains that they have to develop during their university education. And then we will look at the characteristics of the 21st century learners, and thereby what should be the characteristics of educators of the 21st century. And then we will move on to how can 21st century learners be actively engaged based on these characteristics and expectations of these learners. And then what are some effective approaches and methods? There is nothing that I have brought new for you, but I have collected or compiled the existing popular approaches which we in our college we have experimented all these approaches and methods, and we find them as successful. And that is why I have selected all these approaches and methods, and I wish to share my knowledge about these with you all. And then I will present a model lesson, a lesson plan which includes all these approaches and methods which I would be talking to you. And then to conclude, I'll also provide you with a checklist to see whether I have kept my word. So that is how my presentation is going to go on. So now let's start with it. What are approaches and methods? Approaches are a set of core teaching and learning principles. Sorry. Approaches are a set of core teaching and learning principles based on the analysis of, they are formulated based on the analysis of the nature of the subject. It can be any subject, or it can be the language and the language learning, how it is learned, and drawn from the theory and research in educational psychology. So approach is the set of principles that we need to understand. And where are these drawn from or formulated from? By understanding the nature of the language and the nature of language learning, and also from theories and research in educational psychology, okay, and applied linguistics. Methods are, and what are methods? Methods are a combination of techniques that are used and plasticized, adopted and customized by the teachers in the classrooms in order to teach their students. So based on these principles, experts propose methods, and it is we glean from the information that is provided, and we customize it according to the needs of our classrooms and our learners. So methods are formulated by the teachers themselves. They are free to customize from the methods that are propounded by the experts in the field. So approaches are principles, methods are techniques that we use. Okay. For example, if a teacher has an approach that language is for communication, and learning a language is in fact learning the meanings, functions, and uses of language, the techniques will be based on the communicative language teaching approach and task-based methods. Okay, so this is an example. If the principle we take is CLT, we believe that language is for communication. And then naturally, we'll apply all the principles and methodologies of CLT approach. On the other hand, if we believe that language is for getting knowledge, it is for intellectual growth of us, and in that case, we may still stick to the traditional method or the grammar translation method and the old methodologies. So it depends. What is your approach decides your methodology or methods. Now we are going to watch the video, as I told you before, and watch this carefully and see what the students say about themselves and what they expect from us.
Hey everyone! I am Divya and I'm full of energy and as hyper as always.
I'm Kim and I'm always seen with my computer.
And I'm the girl who recently cut my hair short, Ashley. And we are all going to become educators. Today, we bring to you a presentation on the 21st century education, powered by Powtoon.
Like everybody else, we have been through school, we have been through different challenges. We have seen how learners are like, and we know how our educators do what they do.
So, what are the attributes of the 21st century learners?
21st century learners are basically digital natives, born into a technology world and exposed to technology since young. That grants a vast trove of information and access to learning new things virtually.
21st century learners are social media actives. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Google+, this, that, you name it, you know it. Social media is the most active activity on the internet, and its users are dominated by, you guessed it, us who are born and living in the 21st century. With our extreme curiosity and ability to easily learn new things means we also need to get the information we need quick, fast, and vivid. Slow, lengthy, and traditional approaches bore us. We also like learning things which are meaningful and relevant to us. In relation to this, psychologists have pointed out that our kids these days are growing up too fast, that we are entering adult world faster than we should. Thanks, David Elkin.
So what are our kids expected to achieve in this ever-growing world? The answers are not in the A's, but C's. The 4 C's of 21st century education include:
the first C, critical thinkers. Critical thinkers make connections between information and arguments, as well as draw conclusions based on the best analysis. They reflect critically on learning experiences and processes, as well as ask significant questions that lead to better solutions.
The second C, communicators. Communicators articulate ideas effectively using oral, written, and non-verbal communication skills through variety of forms and contexts. They do also listen effectively to decode meaning, including knowledge, values, and attitudes. They do also communicate effectively in diverse environments, including multilinguality.
The third C, collaborators. Collaborators demonstrate ability to work effectively and respectfully with diverse teams. They make the necessary compromises to accomplish a common goal and assume shared responsibility for collaborative work. More than that, they value the individual contributions made by each team member.
Last but not least, the fourth C, creators. Creators innovate new and worthwhile ideas of both additional and radical concepts. They also be responsive to diverse perspectives, incorporate group input, and feedback into work. Creators also demonstrate originality in work and understand the real world limits to adopting new ideas.
How about our educators? What challenges would they face? Surely, achieving these 4 C's would be a challenge for the educators of our 21st century learners.
First, educators would struggle with keeping up with new trends and educational technology as it constantly develops. Second, they are required to come up with interesting, captivating content to capture students' interest during teaching and learning by keeping themselves constantly inspired to inspire creativity among learners.
Other challenges also include finding ways to communicate effectively to keep learners interested, and also finding a way to instill positive character and behavior in learners.
Ultimately, educators must possess the same 21st century skills that they will teach to their learners. It is more important now than ever that we cater for the best interests of our learners. After all, just as John Dewey once said,
If we teach today the way we were taught yesterday, we aren't preparing students for today or tomorrow.
The end.
So the takeaways for us from the video are, first of all, the students of today do not enjoy long, boring lectures. They say they are boring. And the next thing they said is, we want content in different forms. It is not just chalk and talk or just showing PowerPoint slides and talking. We have to provide material information in different forms. That is another thing that they said. And the next thing is, the content that we provide them should be immediately relevant to them. It should be applicable to what they are learning immediately. Maybe interdisciplinary learning. It should be, we should contribute to that. Only then that content interests them. That is another important point for us to remember. And then finally, they said about educators. Educators are struggling to use the different technologies, may find it difficult. That's what we said. Yes, for us, as we are digital immigrants and they are digital natives, and we find it a little difficult little more difficult than them to get acquainted with these new technologies which are coming up every day. But ultimately we succeed. We never failed. We proved ourselves capable of learning all these technologies and using them successfully in the class. And the next thing is, they said, these are the 21st century skills are what we need to acquire from what you teach us. So when you have to teach us those things, you should have them. So they suggest that we acquire all these 21st century skills, then only we can impart them successfully to the students. And I absolutely agree with them. And this is the list of the 21st century skills which the students are expected to acquire during the process of education. So what are those? You can take a look at the list when I introduce them, introduce their importance to you. Please take a look at the list. These are the 21st century skills, and these are considered as the attributes which empower the graduates of the 21st century. And these are the abilities which students need to enhance their academic performance when they are in colleges or universities, to succeed in their future careers, and even to succeed in their social and personal lives. All these skills are very important. And it is our responsibility as educators to inculcate and nurture them by using appropriate curriculum and teaching methods. So let us take a closer look at this skill set with the definitions of each of these. What is critical thinking? Critical thinking involves logically assessing information to make informed decisions. So information is available in abundance today. And we should be able to critically think and find out what is correct, what is not correct, what is reliable, what is unreliable, what is credible, what is incredible. All these, the credibility of the information, we should be able to assess logically, and we must be able to make sound judgment, sound decisions, correct decisions about anything. Critical thinking is the most important skill that we must help our students to develop. And creativity. Creativity empowers people to see concepts in a different light, leading to innovative thinking and problem solving. So this is nothing but thinking out of the box or thinking differently. And that will result in innovation and in problem solving. And collaboration. They work, they love to work in a team. That is because they like immediate feedback, whatever they want. They want people to discuss with, and also they like immediate feedback on whatever they do. So collaboration helps them a lot, and collaboration is a skill that they need to cultivate, because in their future life, all the jobs today require the employees to be team players. So this collaboration is a skill which we should help them to cultivate. And then communication, very, very important. And you will see that this communication is central to many of the other skills listed here. Communication is central to a lot of the skills which are coming next. And communication is the practice of conveying ideas by using a variety of methods. Communication is not only conveying, it is also receiving. And they should be able to convey and receive ideas from variety of methods, using variety of methods, speaking, written or visual, or graphics, whatever it is. They should be able to convey their ideas using a variety of methods, and also receive and comprehend ideas from all these forms. Then it is information literacy. Information literacy gives your students the tools needed to distinguish fact from fiction. So as I told you before, information is available in abundance. And we should critically think, and we should be able to identify what is fact, what is fiction. Just because something comes written beautifully in English or Tamil in WhatsApp, say giving a fictitious name of an expert, we should not believe whatever comes on WhatsApp. We should be able to identify not only WhatsApp, whatever media it is, whether it is a visual media or print media or whatever it is, whatever falls into our hands, we should be able to check the credibility of it and identify what is fact and what is fictitious. And the next is media literacy. Media literacy helps students analyze media and understand potential issues that can arise when using digital tools. Media literacy, They should be aware of what are the different types of media available to get information and to share information. And at the same time, they should know how to use them safely. That is called media literacy. The next is technology literacy. Involves students understanding different applications and the best ways to use them. So just because all our students are using smartphones and they are well versed in using all social media applications and they communicate very fast, we take it for granted that they are all adepts in using technology. No, but I think in my experience, I think it is not very true, because education technologies they are not very familiar with them. I think they need orientation and training. It should be part of study skill orientation, which we give them at the entry point to the university or to colleges. We give them study skill orientation. We even conduct courses, and this technology literacy should become a part of it. And students should be oriented to using education technologies in a beneficial manner for their learning. The next is flexibility. Flexibility is someone's ability to adapt to change and understand differences in views that impact decisions. They should be patient to listen to the viewpoints of other people. When there are differences of opinion, they should be able to accept it, and they should be able to contribute and accept a collective decision. This flexibility is another skill which we should help our students to develop. And leadership. Leadership involves someone's ability to influence and guide others towards a common goal. We should allow them to speak in the class. We should allow them to ask questions in the class. We should allow them to think freely in the class. That is what will create this leadership skill in our students, and which is very, very important. They should not be always be passive listeners and followers of somebody. They should be able to lead. And next is initiative. Initiative is sometimes called as intrinsic motivations, and it relates to employees from this source, but it relates to everyone. Starting projects, creating plans, and executing strategies on their own. Be innovative, be initiative, come out with new ideas, be original. These are things which we should encourage in our students and make it their habit. And productivity measures how well someone is able to prioritize, plan, and manage their work. We should make our students productive. And how can, what is being productive? Being able to produce something original, something new, something creative. So how is it possible? Only when we help themselves to learn how to prioritize, plan, and manage their work. Only if they learn this kind of systematic working, they will have time to be creative or to be productive. And finally, social skills. Refer to the skills needed to interact effectively with others, and especially when working with a diverse group of people. Social skills are very, very important. So being flexible, being able to communicate effectively, all these we have to inculcate and nurture in our students. So these are the skills that we need to help our students to develop during their period of study. And as I mentioned, dear colleagues, do you see that communication is central to many of these skills? Social skills, initiative, leadership, flexibility, and collaboration. All these depend on how effectively you can communicate. So the onus is on the language teachers. So we should make them effective communicators. So now let us move on to the goals and characteristics of the 21st century learners. So education is imparting knowledge and skills. So we have seen what the skills that we need to give them. We need to help them cultivate. Now, what are the three domains of knowledge that we must help them to communicate? So the first is the fundamental knowledge, the subject knowledge, the knowledge about their core subject, then cross-disciplinary knowledge, which in our days teachers used to say, when you call yourself as an educated person, you should know something about everything and everything about something, your core subject. Our teachers frequently used to say. So that kind of general awareness about whatever is happening, the current trends, and then digital and ICT literacy. So these are the basic intellectual, the subject knowledge that they have to gain. And the secondary is the secondary or the higher order thinking skills, the meta knowledge, or the skills that they need to act to perform well during their jobs and all those, not only in their jobs, even during their academic life. So creativity and innovation and all the skills which we develop, which we discussed in the previous slides, you can see here. I don't have to repeat them to save time. And then the humanistic skills, the social skills, being aware of cultural diversities and ethical and emotional awareness, and the life and the job skills. All these are very important. These are the three knowledge domains which we must use our, which we must help our students to develop. And now these are the skill set and the knowledge domains that we must help them to learn. So let us now look at the qualities or the characteristics of our learners so that we select appropriate approaches and methods to use in our classrooms. So our learners are globally aware. They know what they have to learn, what they have to be when they complete their education. And they are digital natives. They enjoy using technology. So we must use technology to teach them. And then speed demons, as mentioned in the video, nothing slow interests them. They want information fast information. So the information that we present to them should be fast and clear. That is something we have to remember. And then entertainment addicts. That is why it was suggested that we use different forms of content, different types of content. One monotonous content will not help. And then micro-minors. We have to give them everything only in chunks. And recently I heard and I read that their attention span is just 8 seconds. And they can't be focusing on one thing for longer than that. So that is how our lesson content should be. It should be keep moving. The long monotonous lectures will not be interesting them. And then collaborative partners. So we should allow collaboration, group work, pair work, discussions, debates. All these should be encouraged in the classes as a process of learning. Which I'm going to exemplify in the model lesson plan. So these are the characteristics of the learners that we should remember. Now, let us look at the characteristics of us teachers. So look at the generations. The people we are teaching are belonging to this generation. They belong to Generation Z. The people who were born after 1996, they are called as Generation C. And after that, millennials and Generation X and baby boomers. So these three generations are the teachers. Boomers are still teaching, and many of us are Generation X people, and millennials have also joined the industry in large numbers now. So look at the generation gap. We know this word very well. We often use this. So see the generation gap. So it is our responsibility, whether we are boomers or whether we are Generation X, it is our duty to adapt ourselves, our techniques, our approaches, our attitudes to suit the attitudes of the Generation Z students who are in the universities and colleges now. So this is why the adapter these are the roles of the 21st century educators. These are the characteristics of the 21st century educators. The first and foremost thing is the 21st century teacher should be an adapter. We should be able to change. And then effective communicator. I have explained this already. Not, we can't be slow and too explanatory. Quick and clear, that should be the thing. And the learner. We should always be learners. New things always keep coming up these days, and we should be ready to learn them. And we should be visionaries. We should be able to foresee the future of our students and use our experience, knowledge, and wisdom to plan their future, to help them plan their future, to equip them to face their future. And we should be leaders. We should lead by doing, and we should be models. We should inspire our students, and we should be collaborators. We can make our work easy by collaborating with our colleagues, and we can involve and engage our students better by collaborating with them when they are actually learning in the classrooms. And then risk takers. What risk should we take as teachers to try new methods, to be innovative, not sticking only to whatever we are familiar with, not sticking only to the ways we were taught. We should be innovative. That is the meaning of risk takers. So these we should be aware of this, and we should be ready to be all these. So how can we achieve all these? So considering the characteristics of the learners that we are teaching, and considering the characteristics that are expected of educators, let us see now, how can we actively engage the 21st learners in our classroom? Relating classroom learning to their real goal lives. Now we know very well what are the knowledge domains to be developed, what are the skill sets to be developed. So relate our classroom learning to those. And using appropriate approaches and methods in teaching, and using technology in our classroom, and providing captivating content. So interesting content in whatever forms that interest them. Then talking less and providing opportunities to think, to research, and share. This is very, very important now. So gone are the days of a teacher-centered approach. Now, in those days, only the teacher and the textbook were the source of knowledge. Now it is not so. So we can introduce so many other resources, very good resources to them, and we should provide them. We can talk less, and we can provide opportunities for them to think on their own, to do research on their own, and understand the content, and share their knowledge, collaborate with others, and enrich that knowledge, enrich their learning. Providing opportunities to collaborate and communicate in the classroom. How is it possible? That is what we are going to see subsequently. When do I teach? Without teaching, how do I allow them to collaborate and communicate? That is what we are going to see in the subsequent sections. What are some, now we are coming to the approaches. What are the effective approaches? Communicative language teaching, student approach, student-centered approach, integrated, interactive approach, and process approach. So these are the 4 approaches which I am proposing as being effective for teaching the 21st century learners. Now, I should also point out that communicative, these 3 approaches are the offshoots of communicative language teaching. After grammar translation approach, what became very popular and still universally practiced is communicative language teaching, and these are all offshoots of that. And what is communicative language teaching? Communicative language teaching is a set of principles that shows how communication can be the focus of teaching and learning. Communication is the focus, not gaining knowledge from the other language, how to use the language from how to use language for communication. That is the central idea of communicative language teaching. And it proposes that language is learned through communicating, by actually allowing them to communicate, to practice communication. Then language becomes the byproduct of using language to communicate. So language becomes the product of using when you use language to communicate. When you give them opportunities to communicate, automatically they gain knowledge in the language. And the goal of CLT is communicative competence. And this is the first sentence is the history. You know very well, CLT developed as a reaction to exclusively grammar-focused teaching, which gave priority to accuracy and used sentences as units to present and practice in the classrooms. So that is grammar translation method, where a sentence being able to produce sentences in writing and speaking. That was our goal. So now that has changed in communication, in CLT, and communication is our goal. What is this communicative competence? The goal of CLT is communicative competence. And what is this communicative competence? Let us understand this clearly. Communicative competence is the ability to interpret and enact appropriate social behaviors, and it requires the active involvement of the learner in the production of the target language. So this is the very important thing, ability to interpret and enact appropriate social behaviors using the target language. And what does that mean? This will make it even more clearer. It involves the following abilities: linguistic competence, knowledge of grammar and vocabulary; socio-linguistic competence, ability to say appropriate thing in a social situation, understand the context and say appropriate things, when to say what to say to who, all these they should understand. This is socio-linguistic competence. And discourse competence means the ability to start, enter, contribute to, or end a conversation. How to start a conversation, join a conversation, how I can contribute effectively to a conversation, and if it is going on and on, how to bring it to an end. So these are called as discourse competence. And strategic competence is the ability to communicate effectively and repair problems in communication. So if at all, what is the strategic competence? This is another thing which is very important. When you are engaged in a conversation, when the student is engaged in a conversation and suddenly he doesn't know the right word to use at that context, he should be able to say some other words and convey the meaning that he intends to convey. Let me take a very simple example. For example, the student is a beginner, and you have asked him to talk, to speak about himself or his hometown. And he forgot the word hometown or native place, as we say. He forgot that word. So how can he repair the communication? How can he proceed that conversation? He can just say, if he is able to say, the place where I was born, the place where I come from, if he is able to manage like this, that is called as strategic competence. If he is able to achieve this, and if he is able to convey his meaning to the listener, and he is very good at communication. So these are the communicative competences that they should develop. And how CLT methodologies, use the methodologies. They are based on activities that require exchanging information and solving problems, and activities with real world situations that are designed suitably, taking into account background, needs and goals. So we must use a lot of activities in the class, and the next the next level of activities is task, which is what we are going to see. which includes real life situations, and the tasks are designed suitably. They are customized according to the learner's background, needs, and goals. So this is what we are going to see next. And the goal of our activities and tasks all should be helping our students to achieve or to gain communicative competence. Then the second approach is student-centered approach. What is the student-centered approach? These are all the characteristics of student-centered approach. Teachers listen to and respect each learner's point of view. Mutual respect is very, very important. Earlier, we used to consider teachers as sage on stage. I came across these phrases which were very catchy. So sage on stage and guide by the side. So that is how our role has changed today. We are no longer sages on stages. We are guides by the sides of students, which involves mutual respect. So we should respect them and their decisions and their attitudes, everything. And teachers include, and the color code tells you that these points describe one thing. Teachers include peer learning and peer teaching as part of the instructional method. Teacher allows students to work and learn in collaboration with other learners. Teachers encourage and facilitate learners' shared decision making. So what is all these about? What are all these points about? Allowing them to collaborate. So collaboration should be, cooperation and collaboration should be encouraged in classrooms. Then students construct new knowledge and skills by building on current knowledge and skills. Lessons include learning activities that are personally relevant to learners. I told you this before. Students are interested in knowing only what is very relevant to them and immediately applicable to them. So whatever we teach them, we should tell them the real life application of that content. Only then they become interested in that. So see that your content is relevant to them and interests them. Then teachers provide structure without being overly directive. Teachers provide questions and tasks that stimulate learners' thinking beyond rote memorization and refine their understanding by using critical thinking skills. Teachers support learners in developing and using effective learning strategies for each task. Help learners work through difficulties by asking open-ended questions to help them arrive at conclusions or solutions that are satisfactory to them. So what do all these points say? They say that don't just give them a model, ask them to imitate and do it. Provide them only a structure. Provide them with questions. Allow them to think and allow them to create on their own. Don't ask them to memorize anything and imitate anything. Allow them to be original. Provide them, if you want them to write an essay, provide them with the structure of the essay and tell them clearly what is the content expected and provide them to research, provide them with questions which will help them to research and find the relevant content and allow this process to happen in the classroom. That is what will encourage their creativity and critical thinking. And then students take increasing responsibility in the learning process. Students are encouraged to understand expectations and to use self-assessment measures. Students are guided to monitor their own learning and develop strategies for further learning. And this again is very important. In the product approach, what we do is we give them a model, we make them write the essay, and when do they get the feedback? Teacher takes all the essays, corrects all the essays, and then finally when she returns the paper only, the student will know what his mistakes are, what the gaps in his writings are. So that is not the case. We should allow process, and as they are doing, we should allow the process to happen. They should go step by step, and as they are moving from one step to the next step, they should be able to check whether they are going in the right direction or not. Am I doing what the teacher asked me to do? Am I doing what the teacher expects me to do? They should be able to check all these things. So how to do it? I'm going to give you some ways in my next slide. In the next few slides, I'm going to tell you how you can achieve this. Activities require students to produce works that demonstrate true learning. So when you use all these techniques and when they finally produce a work, that will demonstrate their true learning, whether they have actually understood their content or not. Now, how to make them autonomous, how to make them responsible for their own learning, how to make them understand whether they are going in the right direction or not, by making them aware of their goals, what we expect from them, and we should give them a set of pointers to check whether they are doing things right or not. So what are these things? This is called learning outcomes, so which we all have. These are the learning outcomes which all teachers have. The learning outcomes for this semester, for this course. We prepare all these beautifully, okay? But this should be given to the students, and we should explain all these things to them, so they understand that this is the outcome of my learning of this course in this semester. By the time I finish this semester, I should be able to learn all these things. I should be able to do all these things. He should be able to understand. Okay, for example, this is the learning outcome for level 4 writing course. So at the end of this course, they should be able to write clear, detailed texts on a wide range of subjects related to personal interests and on topics which a student aiming to study at the college. So like this, a list. Make this aware. The first day of the semester should be used to familiarize our students with all these things, and a copy of these things should be made available to them, so they should be clear of their goals. Then the next thing that we can provide to monitor their learning is checklist. This is the checklist that we have created, that I have used for helping my students to check if they have written a paragraph on something as I expected them to write. So what are these? Does the paragraph have a topic sentence, supporting sentences, and concluding sentence? Does the topic sentence state the main idea and controlling idea clearly? Are the supporting sentences related to the main idea? So like this, whatever I expect in the paragraph, whatever they are expected to put inside their paragraph, we give them a checklist. So when he writes the first draft of his paragraph, the student will check the paragraph on his own using this checklist. And then it will be passed on to his peer. And the peer can also use the same checklist and check whether he has done properly. And after cross-checking, they can give feedback, and that will help them to improve their paragraphs, and the final draft can be produced by the student and submitted to teacher, and the teacher will also be checking against this checklist. So as they are writing the paragraph itself, they can check whether they are meeting the requirements of the teacher, of the learning, so that the final product will be of a good quality. Then another thing we should give them is the marking criteria. We should familiarize them with the marking criteria which we are going to use to assess their work. For example, this is the marking criteria that we use for assessing their paragraphs. So this should be discussed in the class, and they should have a copy of it. So where they can very well decide their strategies. They can plan their learning, and they would know, if I want to get 5 upon 5 for my paragraph, so these are the things that should be present in my paragraph. They should know. So fully, the task response, the content should be like this. It fully addresses all parts of the task, presents a fully developed response with the well-supported ideas. Then organization should be logical and no grammatical or punctuation errors, and correct choice of vocabulary and no spelling errors. The register or the style, the language, the vocabulary that they use consistently matches the nature of the task. So if they are aware of all these things, automatically they become responsible and they try to rise to our expectations. So that is the second thing. Make them autonomous learners, make them responsible for their own learning. This is what is student-centered approach. The next is integrated interactive approach. So we all know very well, integrated approach means giving them opportunities to practice listening, speaking, reading, and writing in the same class. We should not segregate. It should not be on the timetable. It may be segregated as listening class, speaking class, reading class, and writing class. But every class should have an integrated approach, and it should allow opportunities to practice all these skills. That is what is called integrated approach. Let us read what two experts have said to minimize the reading. And you all know it very well, what is integrated approach. So let us read these quotations. In relations to this, Davis and Pearce emphasized that real success in English teaching and learning is when the learners can actually communicate in English inside and outside the classroom. So our real success is when they are able to communicate without any inhibition inside or outside the classroom. And to achieve these objectives, the integrative learning skills, language skills integration seems to be the most effective to use, because it seeks to teach language as a means of communication to serve the purpose it was originally created for, which can be motivating and realistic as well. So the original purpose of language creation was communication, and allow them to succeed in this. And the best method for that is integrative language skill introduction. And Henkel reiterates that current integrated language skills teaching models, learners' fluency and accuracy, aim to developing learners' fluency and accuracy, as well as their socio-cultural communicative competence. So that is the purpose of integrated language skills. Only when you integrate the skills, the communication will be natural. If you call it as a listening class and you only ask them to listen and write the answer. And if it is a reading class, read a reading passage and answer comprehension questions. And writing class, only keep writing. So if you segregate like this, natural communication does not happen. So you should use process approach, and the process approach will you should use process in your classrooms, and that process approach will help you to successfully integrate all the skills in your classrooms. And the second part is interactive approach. Allow interaction in the classroom, interaction with peers, interaction with the teachers. Telling is not teaching, listening is not learning. Okay, so just you stand in the front and you keep telling something, that doesn't mean teaching. And if they sit and they are very well behaved, they are very attentive, and they keep listening to what all you are saying, and that is not learning. So what is that? Interaction is necessary for the benefit of learning, for the benefit of teaching. How? Let us see in these points. Interactive approach helps student engagement the best. How? It motivates and engages students by dispelling passivity. They are no longer passive listeners, and they create an atmosphere of attention and participation. When they have to participate, naturally the attention is increased. It enhances learning process by giving opportunities to talk and discuss. And peer learning, peer teaching, peer feedback, everything, learning together, collaboration is allowed only when you allow interactive approach in your classrooms. It creates excitement about learning as there are opportunities to share thoughts. They are excited because there is somebody listening to what they are thinking. There is somebody who can help them when they are not able to understand something properly. So it creates excitement. It provides opportunities for peer learning. It helps teachers to make quick changes in processes or approaches in teaching. It not only helps the students, it also helps the teachers. When I am using a process, when I am using a particular method in my classroom and I ask some concept check questions to our students and I understand that, okay, the concept has not been clearly understood. How do I understand by their response? I'm immediately able to change my method or the process or the explanation and make them understand better. So it helps them to learn better. It helps us to teach better. It helps teachers to measure how well students have mastered the target subject material. So that is the benefit of using interactive approach. And as you know, our students are active learners. They can't sit passively and listen to us. They should be allowed to participate in the class. They learn things by doing. So we should allow them to do things in the classroom. And the next approach is process approach. I have taken a writing class as a model and I have given the process, steps in the process of teaching writing, but it applies to all the other skills also. It is true about listening. It is true about reading. It is true about speaking. It can be applied to any skill classes or any subject classes also. So the step one is pre-writing. The first step is pre-writing. What is pre-writing? Brainstorming. You say, for example, you want them to write an essay. It can be a literary essay, or it can be a EAP, academic essay, for example, a process essay. So whatever it is, first you should allow it to happen in the process, as a process. Step one is pre-writing. Students will be given time to brainstorm and collect information about that topic. It can be by using digital tools, or it can be by discussing with their peers and with the teacher. Brainstorming should be allowed. And then they plan how to organize that information in the essay. And then only they will go to write the essay. And that too, it will be the first draft, not the final product. And they will write the essay, and you should have, and at this point, you should have taught them the structure and the content of the essay also. What is the expected structure? What is the expected content in each part of the essay? All these things should have been taught, and after that they write the first draft, and then they move on to revising and editing, and they check the organization, they check language errors, and then only they write the final draft, which will be submitted to the teacher. So this is how a writing class should happen. Be it writing a character sketch. Even if it is a literature class, you're asking them to write a plot summary or character sketches, whatever it is, the process approach should be followed, and which is exemplified in my lesson plan. So those are the approaches that we have discussed, and which I think are effective and suit the needs of the 21st century learners. CLT, student-centered approach, and process approach, and collaboration in classroom. So these are the approaches. Now, what are the methods? The methods are task-based. So what are methods? Methods are the techniques that we are going to use in our classroom. So those are the approaches. And now we are going to talk about the actual teaching practices which we are going to adopt in our classrooms. So the central technique is using technology. Using technology makes the classroom practice very effective. And what can we do? We can use task-based teaching, flipping classes, and collaborative learning. So these are the classroom practices which are effective in teaching our learners. Let us look at them one by one. What is a task? A task is an activity where the target language is used by the learner for communicative purpose in order to achieve an outcome. And that is explained in the next paragraph. Tasks are activities that require exchanging information and solving problems, and activities with real-world situations that are designed suitably, taking into account the learner's background, needs, and goals. In other words, students carry out a meaningful pedagogical or real-life task that promotes language learning. Okay, let me make it clear to you the difference between exercise, activity, and task. So exercise is like a drill. You teach them a context which is used in PPP. We present, we allow them to practice, and we ask them to produce. So when they practice, we use exercises. We give them exercises. And then activities are the next step, the next higher level. That is, they actively engage in doing something, not just using paper and pen. Other kind of activities, for example, role play. Role play is an activity. You give them a dialogue and you ask them to role play and practice it. That is activity. But task is a process. It is not just an exercise or an activity. It involves a process. We have pre-task, we have task cycle, and then language focus. We can teach them grammar also when we use a task. So this is the procedure, or this is the methodology which is advocated by CLT approach. So that is what we are going to see in detail in my lesson plan. TBT and this task-based teaching can create conditions that are required for language learning in the classroom. Okay. How? Because when we are using a task, we get opportunities to expose our language, to expose our language learners to a rich, comprehensible input of real spoken and written language in use. We can expose them to authentic materials, which will help them to gain confidence in the language, give them exposure to the language. We can do that. And we can give them opportunities to use the target language to do things, that is to exchange meanings, to give them opportunities to communicate. We can give, and then we can motivate our learners to listen and read and to speak and write the target language. So whatever they gained from the exposure step, they will be motivated to use in the next step. And then instruction in language, chances to focus on forms. Forms means the rules and the usage. All these things also we can teach when we use tasks. And the experts have put forth 6 types of tasks which can be effectively used in the language classrooms. Not only in language classrooms, in any subject classrooms also, these types of activities can be used. Listing, ordering or sorting, comparing, problem solving, sharing personal experiences, and creative tasks. So all these can be used, for example. So these are example activities you can see here. Take a minute to take a look at this. These are not restricted only to the language classrooms. It can be used in any subject classrooms. Okay. And next, this is the TBL framework, the task-based learning framework for tasks. So when we are using tasks, so this is the framework that we need to use. The pre-task, where we introduce the topic and also the task. And then the task cycle. The second stage is task cycle. Okay, they do the task. They plan how to report their findings to the peers and to the teacher, and then they report what they have learned. And this gives room for collaborative learning, and then language focus. And after all these are over, comes language focus. Generally, people keep asking who have not moved on to CLT yet, who are still depending on traditional methods of teaching. They have this apprehension about CLT. That is whether grammatical accuracy is given importance in CLT or not. That is an apprehension that they have. CLT gives importance to grammar rules, but at a different stage. So it is not inductive way of teaching, it is deductive way of teaching. That is why teaching them grammar, teaching them structure, teaching them forms comes as the last step. They have used those already in the first two stages, and then we help them understand, okay, this is how this form, this usage comes in this language. We help them understand. And this is the natural way of learning the language also. When we use our native language, we don't learn the rules first. We start using and we refine our usage of our native language by learning rules. When we are taught the rules, we improve the way we use our language. The same thing. That is the kind of approach that is used in CLT, and that is what we see in this method. Okay, and the next method is flipped classroom. Why? What is this flipped classroom? In traditional classroom, we first give lecture. We teach. For example, if you are teaching a poem, you will read the poem line by line, and we will give meaning, and we will discuss. All these will happen, and then they will go and do homework. But in the flipped classroom, they do homework first. They listen to the lecture, the explanation of the meaning of the poem, all they do at home, and then they come and analyze and discuss what they have understood with the help of the teacher, with the guidance of the teacher, and with the cooperation and collaboration of their peers. They understand to appreciate that poem. That is what is called a flipped classroom. So when you see this infographic, you will understand better. So this is before the classroom, this is inside the classroom, and this is after the classroom. So 2 steps out of class and 1 step inside the class. So in the first step, what they do is you provide them before they start this homework. In your previous class, you will give a short introduction to the topic that you want to teach them next, and also the task which you are giving them to be done at home before coming to the class. You will explain this. You will take a short time to explain this. Then you will give them the content, what you want them to listen to or watch or read. You will provide them with the content, and they will sit and do this at home. So the explanation, even the explanation part, can be provided using the digital tools, using the internet materials. Using the web resources, we can provide all those. So they listen to all those and they come ready to discuss. So, they will discuss. How to go about this is exemplified in the lesson. We will see that. So what happens in the classroom is discussion. And what are we providing? We are providing them opportunities to communicate. We are providing opportunities to collaborate. And this step provides them opportunities to acquire all the skills that we talked about earlier. And then they will, and at the end, you can give them extended activities, which they will do at home again, and which will enhance their understanding of the topic. This is another way of representing the same thing. So the same thing is presented here: before class, during class, and after class. Okay, so this is the next approach, which is very, very useful, especially when we have taken to online teaching now. This flipped classroom is very, very helpful for us, because it will help us to reduce our talking time during the synchronous online teaching time. It can't be lengthy, it will be boring, we can't give long lectures. So at that time, this method will be very helpful. We can make our synchronous online class as participatory. No need for long lectures. So this is an effective method. Then the next is collaborative learning. We have talked a lot. So this is cooperation. They help. When we read this sentence, you will understand very well what is this collaboration. Collaboration is when individuals or groups working together combine their strength and they negate others' weaknesses to accomplish a set of goals. So all these, see, all these skills, all these actions are happening when people are collaborating. Okay, so they support, they assist, they exchange, they inspire, they trust one another, they do teamwork. So all these are happening. They help each other. Even if a student is weak, this cooperation helps him also to reach the goal. And this is collaboration. They can divide their task. They can do, each one can do a part of the task and then put together and make it a whole. So all these are achieved when you allow them group work, pair work, discussion, and debating, chances to collaborate. These are they learn together. So this is the method. And using technology. Technology helps us for all the previous three methods. And why do we use technology? First, see this: effective accessibility to resources. Resources for learning, resources for teaching, easy access. And then allows easy sharing of resources. Very easy to share resources using technology, emails, or Google Classroom or Moodle, whatever you want to use. So you can share resources, and allows effective networking and collaboration. Networking and collaboration. What we are doing now is networking. People from different parts of the globe have joined. The same thing can happen with students also. There are Facebook pages, there are pages on Instagram where they can network with other English language learners in other countries, and they can share their knowledge and their practices, and they can learn. So collaboration and networking, all these are possible by using technology, both for teachers and for students. And empowerment in learning, autonomy is gained by the learner. He can learn at his own pace, at his convenient time. All these are possible using technology. And ubiquitous education, the classroom is always present. The classroom is present in my smartphone. The classroom is present in the student's smartphone. Anytime you want to communicate with your students, with the students want to communicate with their peers or teachers, we need not wait for the next class to meet our students. So our classroom is always open thanks to technology. So this is how technology is very, very helpful and to reach out to the 21st century learners. So those are the methods and approaches that I propose to engage the 21st century learners effectively. Now, let us go to the model lesson plan. So this follows this framework. I have taken teaching a short story as for this model lesson, The Last Leaf by O. Henry. So if I am supposed to teach this for my students, literature students or second general English class students, so this is it. So how do we go about this? Stage one is pre-task, and I'm using the method flip the classroom here. So in the previous class, in the previous class, 1 or 2 days before, depending on the time I want them to allow for the pre-task, I introduce the topic and the task. Teacher, in the first step, what do? I explore the topic with my class. I help my students to understand the instructions to carry out the pre-task and prepare themselves for doing the in-class tasks. So what do I do? How do I do it? Teacher introduces the story. We are going to read the short story titled The Last Leaf by O. Henry. It is a story about a young woman who gets sick. Okay, the introduction. Not much. We don't have to tell them much because they are going to have wonderful materials which tells them the story beautifully. So no need to tell them much more than this. Then teacher asks her, what do young people usually do or feel when they fall sick? They are very happy that they don't. Then the students will answer. They are very happy that they don't have to go to classes. They have time to stay at home and use all the digital tools and their gadgets. They'll be very happy. Or if they are very sick, they will take rest and they will try do many things to get some rest and improve their health. Like that, different answers will come. Then the teacher would tell them, teacher asks students to listen to the story at home, following the links that she has shared via email and find out what the young woman does and thinks when she is sick. So then the teacher says, okay, so you all do this, we all do this, but go and watch, go and listen to the story and you find out what the young woman in this story does when she falls sick and what she thinks when she is sick. So listen to this and come back to the class. And the teacher also suggests them to pay attention to the vocabulary. Teacher suggests that students listen and read the story at their own pace and then watch the movie. The movie version also is given. So these are the links that the teacher shares. See, different versions of the story. So this is listen and read. The story will appear on the screen and these links work, but for want of time, I'm not going to play them. But you can try it here, manythings.org. So a very wonderful resource. VOA Special English offshoot is this manythings.org. So listen and read. If they want to learn by listening, let them listen and read the story also. And audiobook. And YouTube is a wonderful, very valuable, rich resource for English language teachers. So audiobook is available there. And movie with subtitles and even the cartoon version is available. They can use all these. There is no need for the teacher to read the story sentence by sentence in the classroom and explain to them. So they do this at home. They do this at home, and this is what is pre-task. And as they are doing this, and they allow them sufficient time, give them a day or two to do this, and ask them to pay attention to the vocabulary also. If you find some new words, write that and write the synonyms. If you know the synonyms from your mind, just write it. Or if you don't know the word, look at the dictionary, write the definition and bring the list to class, which will be used for the next step. You can give that work also to your students. And then the next stage happens in the classroom. In the stage 2 is task cycle. And here, this involves 3 steps. Step 1 is tasks. What does task planning and reporting? Teacher explains the tasks and students do the task. In this task, and we make it clear what is the outcome of the task. That is the first thing to do. In this task, students focus on the speech, actions, and descriptions of one character. And by analyzing them, they understand the character portrayal very well. They have researched and gained enough content, vocabulary, and powerful quotes to write a character sketch essay. Students get opportunities to listen, speak, read, and write the target language. So this is the thing. We are going to focus on the characters in the first class. Okay, so after the greetings and the warmer activities that you do in your classroom, you set the context and set the context for the actual task. and we can use it as a recap of what they did in the pre-task also. So how do you begin? Teacher draws an ivy vine with the last leaf on it, or writes the story title and author's name on the whiteboard, or teacher projects an artistic painting of the ivy leaves on the board. So that is context setting, and we also discuss the story, and teacher ensures that they have done the pre-task. Did you read the story? Did you watch the movie? Which one did you like the better and why? And who are the characters in the story? Who is your favorite character and why? Can you describe can you describe how a district in New York looked in the first decades of the 20th century as you saw in the movie? What are the themes of the story? So such questions can be used in this step. So, and the plot summary also can be slowly recollected. It can be used as a recap to ensure that they have done their homework or the pre-task. So this helps them recollect, remember the story, and now they are ready for the next step. Then task explanation. Then the teacher explains the task. Now we are going to analyze and understand the three main characters in the story, Johnsy, Sue, and Mr. Berman. You are going to use the strategy called focus. First, you will be divided into groups of 6 members each, and each group will choose a character to focus on. 3 of you will be readers and 3 of you will be writers. As the 3 readers role play and read the story aloud, the other 3 will focus on the references, descriptions, and dialogues of the chosen character. Each group will focus only on one character, and they will make notes. They will underline the adjectives used to describe the character and their important dialogues, which will reveal their personality or character. And you can refer to the new word list each one of you have to understand the meaning of new words if required. Otherwise, guess the meaning from the context. If required, use your vocabulary list to know the meaning. So this is what they are doing. Explain, underline the words, phrases, or dialogues which help you understand that character and which you are going to use as quotation in your essay about this character. So do all these, understand. Then after reading, create a list of adjectives, categorize them in a T-chart as positive and negative adjectives. What are the positive things said about the character? What are the negative things said about the character? You list. And then copy down the important utterances or dialogues in the same sequence as in the story. So sequence the dialogues uttered by that character, because that will help you to understand how that character develops or transforms during the course of the story. So these tasks are done as a cooperative, collaborative activity. They do it. And so a lot of communication, lot of conversation is happening. After that, you can look at your list and discuss the trait of your character. So when this list is ready, now you talk about your character. You can understand how the character develops or transforms as the story progresses. You can discuss and debate your opinions and arrive at a consensus. Now you understand your character very well. You know very well your character. You are ready to write a character sketch essay. Now, when this is happening, this is the task cycle. Okay, the first step of the task cycle. What does the teacher do? Walks around and she collaborates, she guides, collaborates, and helps as required. She monitors the progress and sees that the task is completed within the given time. And the next step is planning. Students plan how they are going to share their discoveries, their findings. How am I going to present it to the other classmates? Because not all of them are learning about this character. So you have to present what you have learned. You have to explain to them what you have learned about this character. So they plan. Students decide who the speakers would be in this step. And the writers of the first step are encouraged to speak in this step. They decide what they are going to say about their character to their peers with evidences. For whatever they say, they will give evidences also. That is quotations they will use. Then, so they plan. Then the third step is reporting. They report their findings and compare with findings of other groups. So how does this happen? The speakers present their understanding of the character, quoting words and phrases as evidences for substantiating the personality and qualities of the character. Other groups who had focused on the same character and studied it also present their findings. And you compare what they say and what you have said, and you discuss, and the lists are updated. Okay, so very flexibly, you listen to them. If their point is better than yours, you add that to your list. So your list is updated. Then the students who worked on other characters, they listen to these groups very carefully. They make notes, they comment about the characters, and they ask questions about the characters under discussion. So like this, we understand about all the characters. Okay, then the other groups will present about their characters. So this goes and we learn about all the characters. Then when the characters is over, we can do this for the themes or for the setting, for everything. We can follow the same cycle and do it. Then after all those are over, we can move on to language focus, learning the language forms and their uses. So here we do two things, analysis and practice. In this stage, the language forms or specific grammar points used in the story are taught in the deductive method. Students have used them already in their speech when they are reading the story, when they are discussing the story, they have used all that. Now the teacher explains why and how these structures are used. For example, in this story, we can teach them the use of third-person narration and reported speech. So in the analysis step, teacher explains the differences between first person and third person narration and how the choice adds to the strength of the story. Why some stories use first person narrative, some writers prefer third person narrative. So how they add to the strength of the story, how it helps the readers to relate to it effectively. All those things can be explained. And teacher explains the uses of reported speech. We can teach grammar also using this story. Then after that, explaining, teacher conducts practice of reported speech using the dialogues in the story. So practice is also there. Use the dialogues and give them practice. Now they understand very clearly. They have already used it. Now they are just fine-tuning the use of that grammar point. That's all. So this is the deductive method. And we are never satisfied without giving a I'm sorry. And we are never satisfied without giving a homework. So an extended activity or a homework. Students prepare for a similar discussion about themes, setting, etc. And teacher streamlines their research by providing links to good materials using WebQuest. You can just send them the links using via email. That is enough. No need to spend a lot of time in searching for the right material. We save time by giving them the links. So like this, we can discuss about the theme, the setting, and whatever aspect of the story you want to discuss, we can discuss. So that is it. So the slide isn't moving, so I have to stop sharing and share again. Excuse me. Okay, so now I have come to the end of my presentation. So let us reflect on our lesson and let us see whether we have used all the approaches which we thought would be effective to teach the 21st century learners, and whether we have used all the methods that we thought would be effective to teach them. So CLT, did we use that approach? Did students get opportunities to communicate in our lesson? Did we use student-centered approach where students learning actively? Were they sitting passively and listening to teachers, or were they doing things and learning? So check. This is the checklist for the teacher. Teacher should be reflective about the lesson. Then process approach. Did students start writing character sketches right away, or are they undergoing the process? They have done only the first step. Brainstorming and planning only has happened. Now, later in the subsequent classes only, they will go on to write the essay. Then integrated approach. Did they listen, speak, read, and write in the target language? And interactive approach. Did students interact with their peers and with their teacher? And the TBL. Did we use task? Yes. And did we use flipped classroom method? Yes. That is where they listen to the story. Teacher never read the story in the classroom and explained it in the classroom. Did collaborative learning happen? Was technology used? How did technology help? Did technology help in gaining time for activities in classroom because of the flipped classroom technique? And did technology help students to learn at their own pace? Listen to the story again and again. Somebody is reading for you. Somebody is showing it as a movie. Somebody is presenting it in a simplified form as a cartoon. So use whatever form you like and learn at your own pace. Did technology help make students autonomous? Did they learn on their own? Yes. Did they take less responsibility for their learning? Yes. And did technology help students and teachers stay connected? So this is the checklist. I hope we have covered all the approaches and methods suggested in our lesson. So that is the end of my presentation, and the next will be question answer session. If there are any.
Yes, ma'am. Sure, ma'am.
Yes.
Thank you, ma'am. That was an impeccable presentation. And as we are nearing time, we have got 2 questions selected. Shall we
Okay.
proceed to the Q&A session, ma'am?
Yes, please.
Yes, ma'am. Most of our participants are asking which method do you think is the most fruitful based on your experience in teaching college students?
See, this is nothing prescriptive. There is no prescription for this is the best method. In the definition that I gave for methods itself, it is said that the best method is the method which is gleaned by the teacher from various resources and customized. So what method have I used? I have used all the 4 methods in the classroom. So there is no prescription at all. Nobody prescribes anything. See, that is why we discussed different approaches, many approaches, which were all collaborated in one lesson, which were all used in one, compiled in one lesson. So there is no prescription for a method. Select the method which suits a student.
Thank you, ma'am.
And one more point to add, one method throughout the class is not going to impress your learners. It should be a combination of methods. That also you should remember. Yes, please.
Thank you, ma'am. The last question. With the abundance of material that are available in internet now, can you tell a few factors that are to be considered for selecting the right material?
Yes. So that is where we have to spend a lot of time. That is where teacher part also consumes a lot of time. You know what is good, what is bad, what is relevant, what is not relevant. That is our 21st century skills, critical thinking, technology literacy, media literacy, all those things we have. So we know what is good material. We select materials and take it from very good platforms. British Council is providing a lot of materials for English teachers, and don't think that the IELTS platforms, IELTS preparation platforms, TOEFL preparation platforms, they are not only for the exam takers, they are also for educators. They have very good materials. And also another thing is the university. World-class universities, they are keeping all their materials as open resources. We can access materials from those universities. Take materials from very good platforms and select the best materials considering the level, background, and proficiency of your students, and give the links to those materials to your students. That is how we protect them from this information boom that is surrounding us.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. I thank you on behalf of the organizing secretary, and I truly appreciate the dedicated efforts of academicians like you who go an extra mile through your generosity and kindness to enrich the teaching fraternity, ma'am. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you very much. I once again thank the organizers for giving me this opportunity, and for the participants for listening patiently to my lecture. And I hope I have given you some worthy points, worthwhile points as takeaways from my presentation. Thank you for listening to me. And my special thanks to the moderators for the smooth conduct of the session. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much. And now for the participants, the feedback link for the session has been posted in the chat box. You can fill it and the link will be available, and you can fill it for another 1 hour, after which we will close the link. So please copy the link, paste it in your browser, and you can fill it, and you can leave the meeting once you have filled in the feedback form. Thank you. Dear participants, I thank you all for your participation. We'll meet again for session 10 at 3 p.m. Indian Standard Time. Until then, goodbye.